So hello, welcome back to the Prince Medical TV. Here's your guy, the Prince Kelvin today, as always. Welcome back to yet another episode of Health Talk. And in today's video, I will talk about one thing that is very common in women, and I believe that 98% of you have experienced this. For those who are lucky enough to have not experienced this is just inevitable. It will happen to you. It is not a disease, so you don't have to get afraid or worried. And I'll be talking about a mismatch in hormones or hormonal imbalance. This is where you lack an equilibrium or a balance in the hormones. That is hormone estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, oxytocin, LH, that is luteinizing hormone, and FSH, follicle stimulating hormones. So when one is high, when the other one is low, that means there is a mismatch or an imbalance in the hormones. Now, what really causes hormonal imbalance? There are so many causes. I will just mention a few. One is relocation to a new place. If you move from one geographical location to the other, you're likely to experience this because of a change in environmental factors. So relocation is one. The food that you eat, that is diet, really can affect your hormones. Lifestyle, that is maybe one person who love drinking, maybe smoking, it can cause hormonal imbalance. Again, if you have underlying conditions like maybe let's say thyroid diseases like hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, they're really likely to affect your hormones and you experience this hormonal imbalance. Also, the issue of using family planning. Now, family planning always disrupts your hormones and likely to even miss your periods, meaning there is hormonal imbalance because at a balance you're supposed to have your menstruation every month. But again, if you don't see your periods, that means you're experiencing hormonal imbalance. Okay. There is also the issue of medication. If you're on long-term use of certain drugs and maybe because you have a lifelong condition, it's likely to affect you. So those are just a few. So what are the signs of hormonal imbalance? One is acne or having pimples all over your body. The other thing is about having some vaginal itchiness because of the hormonal shift and changes. Vaginal itchiness is one of the conditions or signs of hormonal imbalance. Again, if you're feeling nausea and maybe vomiting, sometimes is a sign of hormonal imbalance. Again, if you have hirsutism or what you call growth of facial hair, you have hair growing on your face as a woman, this is another situational sign of hormonal imbalance. So the other sign is if you have spotting, if you've been seeing spotting between the periods, that is another sign of hormonal imbalance. Again, if you have irregular periods, they don't your menses or your period doesn't come on the same date, that is another sign of hormonal imbalance. Again, if you experience heavy flow, that is you have heavy blood coming out or flowing out with clots, that is also another sign of hormonal imbalance. So how do you manage or how do you treat hormonal imbalance? Now, treatment of hormonal imbalance depends on the cause. It depends on the cause. Sometimes you don't have to treat it. It resolves by itself because again, I forgot to mention about stress. Stress can really cause hormonal imbalance. So if you have stress, you just manage your stress. You can talk to a psychologist or a counselor and they'll help you out of your stress. So if you just solve your stress situation, then you'll have solved that problem. If you're on medication, then you can talk to your physician, tell them what you're going through, and sometimes they may consider shifting the medication or changing the medication that you've been on to an alternative. If it's about underlying medical conditions like hyperthyroidism or what I say thyroid diseases such as hyper or hypothyroidism, management of these conditions will really help in managing the hormonal imbalance thing. Again, if it's about relocation to a new place, you don't need treatment for that. It will just resolve by itself because your body will get used to the new environment and everything will go back to the normal. Again, if it's about family planning or if you're using family planning, then you just need to get used to that missing your periods. because that is just inevitable. Because if you have to use family planning, then you have to expect that you have maybe sometimes you miss your periods and all those things. So if you really need FP, you can consider maybe changing to another family planning method if you really feel that the hormonal imbalance thing is affecting you, but it is not necessary. If it is about PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome, then management of these will really help. Now, as I said, management will depend on the cause. Now, if it's just for the ordinary hormonal imbalance, you don't need treatment, or if you really need it, maybe you can use microgynon family planning pills. They really help in balancing your hormones. If it's about PCOS, then management of PCOS will really help. I hope you have understood about hormonal imbalance thing. If you have any question, you can reach me always on my Instagram DM at the Prince Kelvin 28.